This is trade recap for January 3rd. So I know I missed yesterday, January 2nd, but I can actually review that real quick. Uh January 2nd, in macro time. This was the macro reject VWAP, reject pivot. One, two, three, bang, I shorted it. A little bit of drawdown and then straight to TP. That's the trade of yesterday that I took. And then today, the trade that I took was honestly, I'm not really proud of it. It could have easily been avoided. Would have been a no trade day for me, but I still ended up taking this trade. So let's look at it real quick, and then we can look at where ES was at this time. So originally going in the morning, I was bullish. I mean, look how we held VWAP. We got a huge move off. We also had news at 10. This is that news candle right here, the data high and data low. So after data low got taken, sometime in macro, this is macro time, I wanted to see a move to run through this pivot, and we didn't even hit it really. So we pulled back, and then we kept just putting in higher highs and higher lows. So I'm like, okay, like I'm bullish. I'm not gonna be bearish at all unless we see displacement through like this low basically, right? So I was like, okay, whatever. I saw displacement through this low, and I was like, okay, like let's take a short. I took a short in this candle right here. You can see where I took a short. I did take a little early. Should have waited for the candle to close, but doesn't really matter now. A little bit of profit, and then just obviously you guys know the rest of what happened. So one thing to learn from this, yes, it was in macro time. It was that 10:50 macro, 10:50 to 11:10. So that was a good thing. But what to learn from it is, if market structure is bullish, I mean, look, we respect VWAP, pulled, came back up, held VWAP once more. This was just a pullback to go higher, and I mean that was it. I was bullish. I should have just stick to my bullish bias. No trade would have formed in the macro, and I wouldn't have taken it, and I would have, stayed cash today instead of taking an unnecessary loss. Yeah. Even on my trade copier too, that messed up. I don't know why it went in with double my size, so took a way bigger loss than I needed to. So that was kind of unnecessary, but it happens. It's not really that big of a deal. I'll learn, and I'll move on from it. I'm not too worried about what happened with my trade copier, because I know in the long run I can make that back Monday, so I'm not too worried about that. But one thing that you guys need to focus on is focus on being disciplined and just listening to yourself. That's the one thing that I need to work on. I've been trading for what, like 9 months now, and in 9 months I've gone from unprofitable to break even to semi profitable. So I'm making some money from it, but I'm not getting consistent payouts, and that's gonna happen this year. I'm gonna be very consistent this year. I want to have consistent payouts and all that stuff, but just being consistent, being disciplined, listening to yourself. If I said I'm only gonna look for longs, should have only just looked for longs. This was nice and all. It was a good decent trade if we were bullish, and if we saw displacement through this low. This low right here, if we would have seen displacement through it, I would have said, okay, beautiful trade, solid trade. We can ride it to the VWAP, TP most here, and then we could either ride it just to the 2R or ride it to the pivot down there. But that's not what I did, and I took an L, and it costed me. So having discipline and listening to yourself will keep you a profitable trader in the long run, and that's something that I'm going to work on this weekend. I'm going to be ready for Monday. Monday I'm going to come. I'm going to follow my rules, be disciplined, and trade my plan and take only quality setups. So let's get it. You guys have a good weekend.